This journey called life has had many twists and turns. I shared that I had lost my wife and I was a widower for 11 years. I loved being married. I believed that there was someone there I could have a marriage with. I wasn't interested in dating and all, but I did believe it. When I write my next book, that's maybe my goal. I need to write another book while I can still remember it. I want to write about my experiences dating online, because when I started dating online, I was one of the first people my age to do it. Online dating had just started. In fact, the dating service that was the one that paid off for me is no longer in existence. It was Yahoo Personals, and Yahoo Personals became Match.com. So anyway, I had a lot of experiences with that, but I didn't like being alone. And I did believe that there was somebody out there that I could be very happy with. But it did take 11 years. And that involved selling my company, that involved me going to NYU, that involved me selling my great big house, lots and lots of major steps. But I do have good news in the love department, and that is that I did meet my wife Barbara, who's sitting here next to me. And I think they had a couple questions for you too.
Technology changed our lives as well as the way we know each other. The way of loving also changed. Do you believe in love through social networks?
It does work. As Ron had said, he was widowed for 11 years. I was divorced for 11 years. And some friends at work said, who were young friends, they said, well, my mother's done online dating, and they it kind of convinced me to go and do it, and I did it, and I was the one that found Ron online.
On studmuffins.com.
He wishes. It was on Yahoo Personals. I had been doing online dating for about 9 months before I found him. I had started on Match, and then I went to Yahoo Personals, and he just wrote this.
Well, I'd like to talk about that if I
Okay.
could. Because when my first couple years with online dating, I wrote the typical bio, like, oh, I love going to the theater, love going out for dinner, walking on the beach, yada, 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 yada. And there was absolutely nothing unique about my profile, but I didn't know it. And then one day I miraculously said, hey, maybe I should read what the other guys wrote and see if I can come up with something better. And I don't believe that anything is a coincidence. I believe that the Almighty has a way of guiding our lives. And that Sunday, I had gone to church, and the gospel talked about the Lord saying, cast your nets in the water one more time. One more time, because that's where I was at. I was ready to hang it all up. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it one more time. And so instead of writing the typical bio, I wrote a story. And the story was written in the third person, and the story was, once upon a time in a northern New Jersey village, there was a man who was lonely. And he had achieved great success in life, but he was looking for somebody to come into his life. He had a teenage daughter, and he was pursuing a career at NYU, and blah, 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 blah. And then the final end, the finality of it said, surely in a nearby village there's a fair maiden who also would like a happy ending, a happily ever after ending. And when she reads what I've just written, she will immediately go to her computer and write back, Dear Ron. Well, within a week, I had more than 35 responses to that ad. And the women were writing things like, oh, wow, that was really cool what you wrote. Tell me more. Well, if you had read it, you wouldn't be asking more because everything you needed to know was in there. And none of them started with Dear Ron.
Except I read it. I mean, I read his bio and I'm thinking, oh my God, this can't be true. Once upon a time, it's like a fairy tale. So I looked at it and studied it the first day, and I said, let me read it again the next day. And I waited overnight and read it and said, how can I not respond to this? So I wrote down, Dear Ron, I am a maiden from a nearby village, and kind of went on like that. And we met at a local restaurant, and which turned out we both knew. I mean, he was only a town away from me, and it was really good. And,
Our daughters knew each other?
oh, our daughters even knew each other. Two of my daughters my one middle daughter is the same age as Ron's daughter, and they actually were at parties together because they had a mutual friend, but they never really knew each other. But right now, all three of the girls are really, they're good friends. And
Oh, they're more than that.
yeah, they're like all sisters. And so we met at a local restaurant, and during that time, it's really like a job interview whenever you go on your first date like this. We kind of talked around, and I had read Ron's bio 3 or 4 times at least, and one of the things he had mentioned in there that he was a magician.
Well, yeah, but wait a second.
Something
Yeah.
before that, yeah.
Yeah, Barbara had mentioned that she and her former husband had built a home in upstate New York. And I said, where? She said, oh, way up in the Adirondacks. I said, where? And she said, finally, she said, Old Forge, New York. Well, that was very near where my father was born. And when she told me about them building the house, I remember being out on Old Forge Lake and seeing them building the house, 20 years before that. But what did I know?
But the other part that's even more striking is the fact that, I had asked him about him being a magician, and I asked him, did you ever do children's parties?
When you asked about
Children's parties.
Magic.
Magic.
And I said, I was the magician at the Bronx Zoo for 17 years.
And then I asked, did you ever do children's parties? He said thousands. Well, I knew that I had a magician for one of my son's birthday parties. So that night I went home and looked through my picture album, and the next date we had, which was the next night, was a picture that I brought of him in my living room. Magician went for my son when he was 6. And there was even one picture with Ron and my son in the forefront, and I'm sitting in the background. It's just the 3 of us in the pictures. So it was kind of like meant to be. So it does work. Online dating does work. It's a lot of work, but it does work. So
both of us came in with no expectations.
That's right.
Because
We've been doing it for a while.
we had been doing it so often. I thought, okay, this is just going to be another date.
I agree.
And it wasn't until we got talking.
yeah, that we realized we had things in common, and with all those little things in the background, it just kind of like said, well, we made a date right. In fact, one of the things I do remember about it was in the beginning of December, and Ron said that we were near the end of the date, and he said, I have an office Christmas party coming up. Would you like to be my date? And I said, I will, only if you're the date to my office Christmas party. So those were like our 3rd and 4th dates. And like another date right in there is he invited me home to have dinner with his family. I mean, with his daughter and friends and everything. And I just thought that was kind of like really cool, really cool.